You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN E-mini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things E-mini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Thursday, 14th day of May, 2026. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. I got good news and I got bad news. The good news is Jerome Powell is gone. As of yesterday, the U.S. Senate confirmed Kevin Warsh as the new chair of the Federal Reserve. He was nominated by President Trump to replace outgoing chair Jerome Powell, whose term expires tomorrow, May 15th. Warsh is a former Fed governor and was confirmed in a 54-45 vote. The bad news, Trump, well, it's good and bad. The good news is Trump's meeting so far, everything has just gone spectacular. The dollar's stronger, and as a result, metals are getting whacked pretty good. But we'll get into that later in the broadcast. As you know, we do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first broadcast is our live training room. That's reserved for members only and those taking their 1-week free trial. If you haven't taken your 1-week free trial, when Michael joins us at the top of the hour, he'll explain how to do it. This broadcast, on the other hand, is open to the public. Everybody everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. There's 2 different ways you can join this afternoon broadcast live. The best way, you only have to do it once. Go to mytradingiq.com. Scroll down the page to where it says Noon Broadcast. Click the link, fill out the 30-second registration form, and you're done. What will happen going forward is every trading day you'll get an email about an hour before this broadcast starts. In the email, there's a link. So at 12 noon Eastern, all you got to do is click the link in the email, and it automatically logs you into our platform. The benefit of doing it that way is you immediately have access to the question box, so you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Of course, there will be days you're out of the office, away from your desktop, but you still want to join live. And some days you'll be busy, so you can't join live, but you want to get caught up later. You can do both of those via our YouTube channel, which is easy to remember. youtube.com/CFRN. That's the Christian Financial Radio Network since 2005. Not only do we broadcast live every trading day on our YouTube channel, as we're doing right now, simulcasting, but we also archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there are over 3,000 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. And if you're new to our neck of the woods, it is a great way to get to know who we really are. Thanks to the power of YouTube, you can scroll back 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, even more, a lot more. Obviously, you're not going to watch them all, nor do you need to, but it is a great resource to have at your fingertips, especially if you're new, because it allows you to see how we've evolved over all these years, day by day by day. YouTube.com/CFRN. While you're there, be sure to click the subscribe button and tick that little bell. This way, anytime we go live outside of our normally scheduled broadcast hours, you'll be notified. You'll be the first to know. On the left side of the screen is our schedule for each afternoon broadcast. As I mentioned, Michael will be joining us at the top of the hour for a recap of what happened this morning in the live training room, and then do a little live trading as time and the markets permit. Right now, we'll jump into our daily devotional, which is where we start each and every afternoon broadcast. The topic we're currently on, we're on day 23, and that topic is everyday faith. Not the Sunday morning, get up early, put on the best clothes, go to church kind of faith, but the everyday faith, the stuff that happens Monday through Saturday. Our scripture today is John 1:39, and I'm going to share it from the NIV translation. "Come," he replied, "and you will see." So they went and saw where he was staying, and they spent that day with him. It was about 4 p.m. Again, that's John 1:39. Come and see. No guilt, no pressure, just an invitation. God invites us near. 2 disciples began following Jesus just out of curiosity. He turned and asked them a question that still confronts every reader of the Gospels. What are you seeking? They did not answer with intellectual questions. They asked where he was staying. So he said, "Come and see." Jesus repeatedly uses the word "come." Throughout the Gospels, he extends more than 50 direct invitations and commands. Come, follow me. Come to me. Come. And the language of seeing echoes again and again, over 100 times in various forms. He wants us to see for ourselves, firsthand, up close and intimate. Now, a lot of good Christian folk who religiously go to church every Sunday don't have a personal relationship with Jesus. In fact, their Christian life is lived somewhat vicariously through whatever the preacher has to say. As you know, when the preacher takes the pulpit, he usually opens with some interesting story that happened to him during the week and how it helped him to see, or her see, that, God is real and God is near and God is always working on our behalf. So I want to just encourage you not to live your life vicariously through anyone else. Yeah, go to church. Yeah, listen to the pastor. But you need to have your own experiences. God wants to have an intimate relationship with you through his Son, Jesus Christ. There's a pattern with Jesus, and we're not left alone to figure things out. The Christian life is not about mastery. It is about being with the Master. You may know about Jesus, just like you know Donald Trump is the president. But do you know Donald Trump? Probably not. Same is true with Jesus. You may know his teachings, you may know his commands, you may know the details of his story, from the cradle to the grave, which he defeated. The question is not how much you know. The question is who you know. Are you coming near? What have you seen and experienced for yourself? Not through someone else's life or their experiences. The apostles began as disciples. They began as observers and stayed as learners. They watched how he moved, how he spoke, how he responded under pressure, how he treated those who misunderstood him. He invited the disciples to witness him as friends. We must be present for relationships to grow. This doesn't happen from a distance or through someone else's experience. Automatically, we become like those we spend the most time with. Children mimic what they see without any instruction. Thousands of years later, come and see is still his invitation. So my question for you today, are you seeking information about Jesus, or are you seeking him? Let's pray. Heavenly Father, our prayer today is that you would draw us nearer to you. We don't want just information about you. What we're praying for today, God, is that you would let us see you clearly and know you up close, intimately. Our greatest desire is to be in true relationship with you. It's in Jesus' name we believe and pray. And everybody said, amen. Amen and happy Thursday. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. Then we'll go to the news, then we'll go to the alerts, then we'll go to the charts, and then Michael will join us at the top of the hour. And speaking of Thursday, that means tonight is our members-only workshop. If you've been on the trial and you want to be in the members-only workshop tonight, get a hold of Valerie, support@cfrn.net. She'll send you everything you need to get signed up and become a member, and you'll get an invitation to attend the members-only workshop tonight. So, the numbers from around the world, starting here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. Currently, the Dow's up 437 points, almost 1%. NASDAQ's up 292 points, well over 1%. S&P 500 is up 68, almost 1%. And the Russell 2000, or man in the street, is up 21 points. Quite a bit different than yesterday. Now, in the commodity basket, this is where it stings a little bit. I guess some good news is that crude is actually down 37 cents, trading $100.65 last per barrel. Gold is down 20 bucks, trading $46.86 last. But this is the stinger. Silver's down $4.16, trading $85.20 last. That's a drop of over 4.5%. In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei dropped 618 points, 1%. Shanghai fell 64, 1.5%. The Hang Seng was unchanged on the session. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE up 47, the DAX up 315, well over 1.25%, and the CAC up 74, almost 1%. So, we had a red day in Asia. It was a green day for the UK. And it's a big green radio Thursday here in the US of A. If you haven't seen the video of Trump's toast last night, it's going to be replayed on the news repeatedly, so don't worry, you'll miss it. I did post a copy in the Breeze channel. For those of you that don't have a TV, he stayed on script, professional, elegant. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give him a 12. All right, turning to news, the earliest known dental procedure. And nobody likes going to the dentist, but had to start somewhere. How about 59,000 years ago? And was conducted by a Neanderthal, according to a new study. Archaeologists discovered the molar in a Siberian cave. A deep hole suggests a sharp tool, possibly a toothpick, made of local jasper, and was used for the beginnings of a root canal. The process would have taken between 35 and 50 minutes, according to researchers who conducted similar procedures on 3 modern human teeth. Boy, I'm glad they weren't mine. Wear patterns indicate the Neanderthal was able to continue eating with the tooth following the procedure. This discovery marks the first such procedure by any species other than Homo sapiens. It also challenges prior understandings of Neanderthals' cognitive abilities, showing they could identify a source of pain, as well as determine and administer proper medical treatment, which would require physical dexterity. And did you know you can find out if you have some Neanderthal DNA? Seems like we all would. According to this article, you can find out. It just doesn't tell me how. The Philippine Senate. I spent a lot of time in the Philippines as a young man. The Philippine Senate was in lockdown yesterday after gunfire was heard in the building. It was not immediately clear who fired the shots, and there were no known casualties or arrests as of this writing. The incident comes as Philippine Senator Ronald de la Rosa has been holed up in the building since Monday to evade an arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court. De la Rosa served as police chief during the early years of the country's war on drugs, which killed thousands of people. Today, hundreds continue to die annually of drug-related violence. Not from the drugs, but from the violence. Former President Rodrigo Duterte? Yeah. I was there when Marcos was the president. Remember Marcos? His wife Imelda? She later became president. The Filipino people did not like them. Probably because she had too many shoes. Former President Duarte has been in The Hague since last year on charges of crimes against humanity. While the current Marcos administration broke with Duarte, national government agents have limited authority in the Senate's chambers. So, This is why this guy's holed up there. And this is, well, just a little on the side of unbelievable. South Carolina Supreme Court yesterday overturned the murder it's easy for you to say. Overturned the murder convictions of Alex Murdaugh, a prominent lawyer accused of killing his wife and youngest son back in 2021. The court ruled that jurors were influenced by comments made during the trial by a court clerk who was writing a book about the case. Prosecutors plan to retry Murdaugh, who remains in prison on separate, decades-long sentences after admitting he stole roughly $12 million from his clients. They allege the killings were an attempt to divert attention from his financial crimes, which he feared would be exposed in a lawsuit tied to a fatal boat crash involving his 22-year-old son, Paul. Murdaugh maintains his innocence in his son's and wife's death. He has, of course, admitted to the financial fraud. Now, at the center of all this is the disgraced county clerk, Becky Hill. She's pleaded guilty to perjury, obstruction of justice, and misconduct. Her book has been pulled from shelves over plagiarism allegations. Who would have ever thought that a court clerk could have that kind of influence? President Xi warmly welcomed a delegation of U.S. CEOs yesterday during the first day of President Trump's visit to the country. The business leaders were on hand for an arrival ceremony and a portion of a bilateral meeting held in China's Great Hall of the People, where Trump proceeded to introduce them to Xi one by one. Now, everybody knows about the big debate here in the country about Trump building a decent ballroom for visiting dignitaries. This ballroom in China, and you'll see it in the video, 2 million square feet. Now it's 1.9. Think about that. 2 million square feet. She reportedly responded to U.S. desires to do more business in China by saying the companies could be deeply involved in China's reform and opening up, and that China's door will only open wider. The outreach received a positive reaction from the CEOs, with Tesla's Elon Musk and NVIDIA's Jensen Huang and Apple's Tim Cook all spotted by reporters leaving in good spirits. Musk said it was awesome when asked how his talks with Xi went. Xi has offered similar promises in years past, often to little avail. But nonetheless, it was a striking message from the Chinese leader to begin the two-day visit and echoed a message Trump himself had been delivering ahead of the trip. Trump said, "I will be asking President Xi, a leader of extraordinary distinction, to open up China so that these brilliant people can work their magic." A White House official confirmed many elements of the Chinese account in a summary of Thursday's meeting, which was, today's Thursday here, it was Thursday there yesterday, offering that the leaders discussed ways to enhance economic cooperation between our two countries, including expanding market access for American businesses. Now, obviously, the left, they don't like any of this, and they're just looking for one wrong word, one little slip, and they're going to have a field day. I'm sure they already are. Also, as a result of this long-anticipated trip, U.S. stocks were higher today after President Trump and his Chinese counterpart began a high-stakes U.S.-China summit with trade and AI relations in the balance. Shares in NVIDIA jumped over 4% on news that the U.S. had approved sales of its H200 chips to several Chinese firms. That set the stage for Xi's welcome to some of America's top CEOs. Now, I know some people go, whoa, we should not be selling these chips to China. China is 3 generations in chips behind us. So these H200 chips, that's like yesterday's news for us. I know they're going to reverse engineer them and, of course, try to, get caught up to us, but it's going to take them a while. Question is what he says and what he does the same thing? We'll find out soon enough. Stocks are hitting records as earnings surge. Meanwhile, bonds are competing hard for investor cash. The S&P 500 is in the middle of one of its strongest earnings seasons in decades, with profit growth accelerating, beat rates running hot, and analysts lifting future estimates instead of cutting them. Profits are strong enough to justify the record highs that stocks keep hitting. But the bond market is making that climb harder. Earnings yield is the inverse of the famous price to earnings ratio. Basically, it's how much earnings investors are getting for every dollar they pay for the index. The government's borrowing rate on 10-year debt is subtracted to show how much extra earnings yield investors are getting or not getting for owning stocks instead of treasuries. And NVIDIA's market cap reached a record $5.7 trillion today, as the AI chip heavyweight stock surged more than 4% to reach an all-time intraday high. The jump came after Reuters reported that the U.S. Commerce Department has cleared about 10 Chinese firms to buy the H200, the second most powerful chip. Now, this morning they said it was the third most powerful. Guess we got to get to the bottom of that. Iraqi officials have approached the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, about securing financial assistance as a result of the conflict in the Middle East. Initial conversations took place last month during the spring meetings of the IMF and World Bank in Washington, and discussions are ongoing about how much funding Iraq would need and how any loan would be structured. I think the bigger question is how they're going to pay it back. U.S. retail sales increased solidly for a third straight month in April, though part of the rise in receipts was due to soaring inflation amid the war with Iran. Rising price pressures were underscored by other data that came out this morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, showing imported inflation last month rose at its fastest pace in 4 years. Well, we're still a long way from Biden's 40-year inflation high at 9%. And the dollar climbed for a fourth straight day today, after economic data kept expectations intact that the Federal Reserve was unlikely to adjust interest rates this year, while investors awaited the upshot of talks between the U.S. and China. Well, the good news is Jerome Powell's gone. Kevin Warsh is taking the role. As of yesterday, he is now the new Fed chairman. Tomorrow is Jerome's last day in the seat. Hopefully he won't do too much damage on his last day at the office. But beginning next week, we got a new Fed governor. And that makes me just a little bit happy. Jerome Powell has been the single worst Fed governor in the history of our country. Turning to New York City, their budget crisis has been solved. Socialism finally works. Hooray. That's the not too believable message from Mayor Zoran Mamdani, who assured voters that despite all they've heard about socialism running out of other people's money, that he's finally figured a way to get around that inconvenient problem. Weeks after warning that New York City faced a historic budget crisis and delaying its mandatory submission, Mamdani suddenly announced that he was proud to say the problem was solved. When we came into office, we uncovered a $12 billion budget deficit. Today, I'm proud to say we brought it down to zero. Huh? As you may have guessed, the miracle was accomplished through the wizardry of clever accounting. Mamdani, or maybe we should start calling him Houdani, like Houdini, accomplished this balanced budget through a slew of new taxes and fees, financial gimmickry that pushes the problem down the road, and what amounted to an indirect bailout by the state of New York. The city, which is an independent local news outlet, reported that Mamdani's $124.7 billion budget was hardly a picture of fiscal restraint. It relies on billions of dollars in one shot or short-term money to fund permanent programs. It stretches out pension payments so the next generation will pay for the retirements of present-day workers. And it projects a $7 billion deficit for the 2028 fiscal year that will need to be closed just 1 year from now. It's telling that Mamdani said nothing about the gargantuan deficits that will almost surely hit future budgets because of his decisions today. It helps to have a compliant governor in the state capital who is willing to sacrifice her state's interests to avoid angering Mamdani. The New York Post noted that his budget was built on the back of $4 billion in funny money from Governor Kathy Hochul. That's in addition to another $4 billion promised over the next few years. A large part of this bailout was funded by allowing New York City to irresponsibly delay funding its pension system. This guy is building a house of cards that is going to cause so much destruction. Oh, I didn't think I told you. I don't know if you know who Jimmy Fallon is. Of course you do. He has a Saturday night show on Fox. I just got tickets to attend May 29th. It's in New York City, so I probably won't be able to make it. However, if there's anyone in the audience in the New York City area that would like to attend the live taping of Jimmy Fallon's Saturday night special, let me know. We'll see if the tickets are transferable. I have two, one for me and one for my wife. Now, she might surprise me with an airline ticket. I don't know. We'll see. So does Mark Kelly want to go to jail? I think he does. The story right now is that Arizona Senator Mark Kelly went on CBS and blabbed classified information on the state of American munitions. The lady doing the interview, Margaret Brennan, said, Senator, CBS has reported that the cost of the Iran war is at least $50 billion. I know you've been pressing the Pentagon on briefing just how many of our munitions have been used up in the course of this conflict to date. You said you've been worried about how the U.S. would hold up in a conflict with China because of all this. Have you gotten an answer on how depleted U.S. munitions are? This is where Mark Kelly crossed the line. Yes, Margaret, we have. We've been tracking it at a number of times. We've been briefed by the Pentagon on specific munitions. Actually, it's been pretty detailed on Tomahawks, SM-3s, THAAD rounds, Patriot rounds. So those interceptor rounds to defend ourselves, and the numbers are, I think it's fair to say, it's shocking how deep we've gone into these magazines, because this president got our country into this without a strategic goal, without a plan, without a timeline, and because of that, we've expended a lot of munitions, and that means the American people are less safe. Whether it's a conflict in the Western Pacific with China or somewhere else in the world, the munitions are depleted. You may have seen me ask the Secretary of Defense this question about how long it's going to take to replenish. We're talking years. Pete Hegseth says it's a lie. Not only is it a lie, he leaked classified confidential information that was designed for the ears of the senators in attendance only on national TV, on CBS. My vote is he goes to jail. I don't, come on. I have had a top secret security clearance as a young man in the U.S. Navy. And you don't do that. You just don't. All right. Look at the time. Where's it all gone? Let's get busy. Enough news. Let's go to Logic 247. And I got to cut out as the second Michael's done. So I'm going to have to move fast here. Logic 247. That's our 24/7 around-the-clock E-mini alert service. We're currently in week 406. Over the last 406 weeks, we have issued over 22,300 individual handcrafted alerts. And what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out, based simply on market structure. A simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Now, Valerie did the recap this morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern. Since then, I have issued pre-market. I issued a bunch of alerts. So she'll update the recap this afternoon, probably before the members-only workshop. But this is where we stood this morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern, before I issued the additional alerts. Since the markets opened Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, we had issued a total of 49 alerts. I think the number's over 50 now. At the time she did the recap, we were still waiting on the outcome of 12. That gave us 37 actionable alerts. We had 2 stop outs, or 6% of the actionable alerts. Last week was a historic first. We issued 71 alerts and had no stop outs. This week we got 2 so far. By the time the week ends tomorrow afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern, I'm sure we'll have a couple more. But so far the week looks real good. Now the logic alerts are designed to help you learn how to read the chart. Yeah, you can trade them, but even if you never actually trade a logic alert, use them for the purpose intended, to read the chart. I can't stress how important this is. If you want to trade for a living, you're not going to be able to do it until you can actually read a chart. And when you look at a chart, there's no words, no sentences, no paragraphs, no punctuation. It's a nonverbal language, but it speaks volumes. So you need to make up your mind. You're going to buckle down, do the work, learn to read the charts, or you're going to go find another profession or another hobby. Logic alerts can come out anytime around the clock, 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. Futures trade around the clock. We have traders around the globe. Our day session is their night session, and vice versa. Now, 406 weeks is a long time, 7.5 years. But many years before we introduced Logic 247, we had our original alert service, the Concierge Trade Alerts. Now, they're different in a lot of different ways. But for the purpose of this discussion, I'll just say this. They don't come out around the clock like the Logic Alerts. They're published as a static report, typically 5 minutes ahead of the Globex Open. The Thursday session we're in right now began last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. 5 minutes before the market opened, our traders had all of these targets. The S&P 500, the Dow, the Russell, crude oil, the NQ, gold, and silver. So let's go to the charts and see how we fared. We'll start with the daily chart of the S&P 500 E-mini futures, where again we've put in a new all-time historic high. We are now off that high just a little bit. The new high so far today, 75.40. Those of you that caught that long alert I put out prior to the market opening, you should be smiling real big. All right. Now, price always reverts to the mean. I don't care what you trade or how you trade it. It's just a fact. Price always reverts to the mean. In our case, it's pretty simple. The mean is green. It's this green line. It's called the BBC. And price always returns to that green line. And the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. But eventually it will trade through. We are long overdue for a retracement to the BBC. And as we continue to move higher, so does the BBC. Right now, it's aligned with the 24% Fib retracement. And that's based off the low put in March 31st and the all-time historic high put in today, May 14th. Now, that would be a very shallow pullback. To keep this bull healthy, I'm suggesting a 38, possibly even a 50. Maybe even a 62. But remember, the indices always go higher over time. That's how they're designed. Individual stocks can go to zero. That'll never happen with the indexes, because your risk is spread over 500 large cap companies. And the board at Standard & Poor's is constantly reshuffling the deck, kicking out the weak, bringing in the strong. So over time, always going to go higher. I mean, this sell-off here was pretty brutal, I suppose, for investors, not for traders. Price drops faster than it rises, so there was a lot of money to be made on the downside. But now look at this. So everyone that was selling because it was the end of the world over here, man, they're kicking themselves today. Don't be that guy. All alerts are created on the 30-minute chart. Nothing magic about 30 minutes. It's simply the time frame I chose years ago, and I've stuck with it. The vertical lines you see separate today, Thursday, from Wednesday. Back over here is Tuesday. And back over here is Monday. The horizontal lines are the weekly trading zones. When price drops to a weekly zone, we expect support till proven otherwise. When price rallies up to a zone, we expect resistance until proven otherwise. We've published the zones for our members every Monday for over 16 years. The new zones come out every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. So this was the opening candle last night. Now again, these targets that you're seeing, our traders had these targets 5 minutes before the market opened. We opened above the BBC, so naturally we expect higher prices. When price gets below the BBC, we expect lower prices. Okay, that's pretty simple, right? And yesterday, as we got above the BBC, where do we go? Right up to a zone. And what do we find? Resistance. Now, when the black step line crosses blue and climbing, that means you're going to probably get a retracement to the BBC. And remember, the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. This one held, and this one held, and this one held, and this one held, and this one held. When blue and climbing gets directly above price, that often becomes resistance because it's on its way to becoming red and falling. And that's what took price back to the BBC. But then we overcame it, overcame the zone, and hit the CTA long target. Well, we blew past it right after the London Open, an hour. And then we just pinged back and forth between the long target, resistance, support, resistance, support. And then we broke free. This was the 9:30 opening candle. And look where price closed on that 30-minute candle, right at the long target. Now there's still one more zone overhead, 76.25. I don't think we're going to see it this week. But again, the zones are not saying we're going to go to the highest or we're going to go to the lowest. What the zones do is they create a playing field for our traders for the week, so that you know throughout the week where to expect potential resistance, where to expect potential support. And then by close of business on Friday, we expect price to be below the highest zone or above the lowest zone. Again, we've published the zones every Monday since December 14th of 2009, well over 16 years. Now the step line is trying to cross blue and climbing, so we should see a retracement back to the BBC. Now right here is a spot where the market might find support, even right here. See that wick sticking up and a wick sticking down? You put your crosshair right in the middle. Support. Support. And then, of course, support here. Now, it may be that we found good support at blue and climbing. If so, that means we now have an obstacle overhead. See, we were in price discovery mode. Boom. Looking left, there's nothing to see because price never been there before. But right now, we have an obstacle directly overhead, the black step line. When it gets directly above price, it becomes potential resistance. So right now, price is trapped between support at blue and climbing, resistance at the black step line. If we can close above the black step line, I have no doubt we'll make a run at the high of the session. On the Dow, where do we find support yesterday? At the zone. Where did we find resistance last night? At the zone. We consolidated along the zone until, again, an hour after the London Open, and we popped right up to the long target. And we got above the next zone, and then the pullback held. Pullback holds more often than not. When price trades through a CTA long target on the retracement, the top side of the long target will often become good support. Same is true when you trade through a short target. On the retracement, the underside will become good resistance quite often. So we've got the 30-minute BBC right at a weekly zone. This is the highest weekly zone, so we do not expect price to close above that number this week. But again, these are the zones published Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. When price encounters a weekly zone, only one of three things happens. 70% of the time, it's consolidation. 20% of the time, rejection. 10% of the time, the slice. That's when a 30-minute candle slices through a zone like it's not even there. When that happens, price will typically retrace back to the zone it sliced through and then continue in the direction of the slice. Here's where the Russell opened last night. We found support at the zone, consolidated for hours. Red and falling turned to blue and climbing. That took us up to the zone overhead. And then the pull back to the BBC held here, and here, and here. Yes, we spiked it all the way down to the zone. But as long as the candles are physically touching the green line, that means the pullback held. Leg, retracement. Leg, looks like we're going to get a retracement here. We hit that zone and got rejected. Now we still have 2 more zones overhead. The highest zone possible for the week's 29.59. Don't see us going that high, but we could see this next zone, 28.96. But in order to do so, we got to take out this high right here, 2881.4. The zone is 2880/81. On the NQ, here's the open last night, and we hit the long target by 8:30 Eastern. Resistance always sends the market looking for support. The pullback held. Support sends the market looking for resistance. Remember, when price rallies up to a zone, we expect resistance until proven otherwise. Then we actually got below the BBC for a bit. But then along came the Wall Street Open, and we ran almost to the target. And then we took out the target, and now in this retracement, the top side of that target could hold as good support. After that, blue and climbing could be good support. And then, of course, the BBC, the pullback to the BBC holds more often. I know I say that a lot, but it's because it's so important. It's what you should expect until proven otherwise. Now, proven otherwise is this. You see how this candle opened and closed below the BBC without physically touching it? That's when we go from bullish to bearish. It's really simple. It's all part of learning to read the chart and understand what our very simple set of indicators are telling you. But right there, we hit that. Was it to the tick? Probably not to the tick. We got to 693. Okay, so we missed it by 2 points, which on the NQ's $40 per contract. All right, moving on. That covers the indices. Crude oil, kind of quiet today. Here's where we opened last night. Here's the pullback to the BBC. And that resistance sent us looking for support. Now this short target was based off right here where the black step line crossed back to the left side of blue and climbing. That creates an important price, important area. As you can see, we hit it right here. Support bounced us up to the BBC. The pullback held. Right now, price is trapped. Got resistance at the BBC. Potential support at blue and climbing. Gold. I guess you could argue gold's kind of flat on the session. Overnight, we failed to take out yesterday's high, but we did take out yesterday's low. And it's hanging on by the skin of its teeth right here at this weekly zone, 4679/4680. Last but not least, the silver. This is the one breaking my heart. Here's where we opened, rolling sideways, then we hit the short target. That bounced us up to the BBC, which sent us back, and then it was just a game of pong from support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, and then it all came tumbling down. Now these lows are just above this low from Tuesday. The step line is crossed, red and falling, so we should get a retracement back to the BBC. I'm really kind of curious. And I'll tell you what I don't like. Now, we're not really pattern recognition people, but you could argue that's a head, that's a shoulder, that's a shoulder, and your neckline's down here. That could be a huge drop for silver if that pattern plays out. But again, we trade what's in front of us. We don't put a whole lot of stock in the whole pattern recognition thing. So back to the S&P, where we're just off the high of the session. We're currently trading 75.20, so we're about 20 points off the high of the session. We'll see. But it's just backing up and getting ready to make another run. I'm pretty sure of that. To become a member, you need to get a hold of Valerie, especially if you've been on the trial. Sorry to the guys on YouTube. I don't know what happened there, but it's working again. Sorry. I don't know why that thing drops the connection, but anyway. I wonder if that creates two separate videos. I guess I'll have to investigate that. Anyway, get a hold of Valerie. You can email her, support@cfrn.net. You can call her at 949-42-EMINI. Just let her know you want to become a member, especially those on the trial that want to be in the members only workshop tonight. Get a hold of her now so she can get the paperwork over to you so that you can become a member, so that you can be in the members only workshop tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Once you become a member, you're going to get 2 hours of live training every trading day. On top of that, you're going to get private one-on-one mentoring. No extra charge. All you got to do is ask. The strategy you learn, the indicators you use as a passport holder are fluid across all markets and all time frames. Stocks, futures, crypto, Forex, ETF, doesn't matter. Price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. As a passport holder, you'll get the Logic 247 alerts around the clock. The concierge trade alerts every evening 5 minutes ahead of the Globex Open. Every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, you get the new weekly trading zones. Every Thursday night, you get to attend the members only workshop. And last but not least, you get the golden keys that open all the private channels in Telegram. And there's quite a few. It's everything a trader needs, all under one roof, one low price. Now, Michael's going to be here in about 3 minutes, but I'm going to go ahead and jump in to our good word for the day. Live like you believe it. For as he thinks in his heart, so he is. Proverbs 23:7. Fascinating experiment was conducted a half-century ago. 3 men tested their strength on a gripping machine with an average measure of 101 pounds of pressure. Then the participants were given a strong negative suggestion, and the experimenter told them, "You cannot grip because you are weak." Under the power of suggestion, their average grip strength fell to 29 pounds of pressure. Then the experimenter said, "Now you can grip." Their average grip increased to 145 pounds of pressure. Their strength was increased 5-fold when they said, "I can," versus when they said, "I can't." It helps to think of Scripture as a script. While the reality of your circumstances often feels as if you're off script, you've got to take your cues from God's Word. You've got to live as if you are who God says you are. You have what God says you have, and you can do what God says you can do. If you believe the enemy's lies, you're in deep trouble. But if you believe God's Word, it'll get you and keep you out of trouble. When you're lonely, don't forget His promise. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5. When you feel like you've lost your way, remember his words. A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. Proverbs 16:9. And when you're battling illness, you can stand on this promise from Jeremiah 30:17. For I will restore health to you and heal you of your wounds, says the Lord. So our good word for today is live like you believe it. That is our good word. And that's just part one. We're going to do part two tomorrow. All right, Michael should be showing up momentarily, like right now. Michael, are you there? I think we're going to have a really good workshop tonight. I talked with Michael about something. I haven't had a chance to talk about it further, but you probably want to be there. I'll find out as soon as he comes on if we're going to carry through with the plans I suggested this morning. And if you missed, what was it, last week's workshop? Yeah. Where I dissected how I do the Logic 247 alerts. If you remember, you can go to the workshop video channel and watch last week's workshop in its entirety. Because my goal with the Logic alerts is to A, teach you how to read the chart, and B, I want you to be able to create your own alerts. If as long as you're dependent upon somebody else to tell you when to get in and when to get out, you're never really going to be a trader. Just because you have money in an account somewhere and a charting platform, that does not make you a trader. I know it's nice to have Michael's voice in your ear every morning and to trade along with his trades, but remember, he's teaching you how to do it. The last thing in the world you want to become is dependent on, what if he's not there? What if he takes a day off or a week? He and I both discussed we're both going to start taking some time off. So you need to learn to do your own alerts. You need to learn to do your own trading, okay? Now, we're going to structure it so either I'll be here or he'll be here. We won't both take off at the same time. But none of us are getting any younger. And that song I posted in the Breeze channel, a week or so ago, it says, don't waste what time you have waiting for time to pass. Life's an instrument. Play it. All right, Michael, where are you? You're AWOL. Absent without leave. Michael. Come on, I got things to do, man. People to see. Hands to shake, babies to kiss. Hey, how about that Pratt guy in California? He could become the next mayor of Los Angeles. How about that Steve Hilton? He could become the next governor of California. Imagine having a Republican governor, a Republican mayor, and the guy running for sheriff, Los Angeles County, Republican. That would be a really nice trifecta for the Golden State. Although the Democrats have raped and pillaged it to such a point it's almost unrecognizable now. Anyway. All right. I'm starting to be worried about Michael. I'm not worried. I just...
Okay.
Here he is. Now I'm not worried about him.
Oh, wow. Okay, wow. Gosh, where does those last few minutes? I don't know where they always go.
I don't know, bro.
They always just, and now it's 4 of them just got away from me.
We're just glad you're here now.
Okay, here I am. Let me bring everything over here. Oops.
Okay.
Do that.
Boom. Looks great.
Okay.
I'll see you in 26 minutes.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so let me get correction with this. All right. So, good afternoon, everyone. Today is Thursday, the 14th day of May, 2026. Now, if you have not taken a free trial with us and you want to take a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com. There's no credit card required. Just go to mytradingiq.com and scroll down to right here. Click on the purple button. You have to actually scroll. Just click on the purple button and fill out this form right here. All right, all that we ask for in this form is your name, your email, your phone number. Then down here at the bottom, gives you TradingView login ID. Once you do that, we will be able to get your indicators indicating on your desktop. All right. So we had our best day of the week this week, but it was still kind of dismal. But it was still better. It was twice as good as the first day of the week, almost twice as good as the first day of the week. But it was still not over $1,000 or over 1,200, which is the number that I like to keep everything at. Anyway, if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you have to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. On the NQ, we're up 70 ticks today. On the Russell, we're up 9. On the YM, we're up 20. And on the ES, we're up 9. Put us at 607.90 on the morning session. Today, it took 7 minutes and 3 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $1,000. $100 per contract or $1,000 with 10. And we took a total of 20 trades today, the most in the session this week so far. With 4 stop outs, so that was also the most this week. So we're at 80% of our trades this morning. We're break even or better. On the month now, we're at $4,335 over 9 business days, averaging $481 per contract per 2-hour business day. Now, on the year, we're at $83,387 over 79 business days, averaging $1,055 per contract per 2-hour business day. If you were to quit trading, this is a 24/20 blueprint. The idea behind the 24/20 blueprint is to get you trading 20 contracts over 24 months. Now, if you were to quit trading, when you get the goal for the day, the goal being $100 per contract, and you had 1 contract per month, so you'd be on your 5th contract right now. So far this year, if you did everything exactly like I did, and you had all the same exact slippage that I had, you'd be trading 5 contracts right now. You'd be up $31,970. You'd have traded only 11.83 hours on the year, and you'd be averaging $2,701 per hour. A lot of words. All right. Let's go over here for a second. I want to just check this out. All right. Well, that's it. Let me go in here and go through the actual trades that triggered. I wanted to point something out about the ES. This morning in the session, I had done this. I had drawn all these things this morning. Now, when this was happening is when I drew them. I said, "This, we expect this to go up and get to there." And then once it gets to there, we didn't have any charts over here when I drew it this morning. I said, once it gets to there, I had crunched it all up like this. And I said, once it gets to there, we'll expect to pull back down to about the midpoint of that. Then another run up to there. And then once it does that, we'd expect to pull back down to the midpoint of that. And then another run up. And I drew all that when there were no charts on there. I was just eyeballing it. But it did everything but this part right here. So what this suggests, the reason I was doing that is because you just crunch it all up like this. It's almost like going to a larger time frame, looking at a larger time frame, and you crunch it all up because you don't see all the detail inside there. But the bigger picture, if we start today right here at 9, we'll start here at 9:30, okay? Right here, we'll call it right here. So if I were to draw fibs on this, you're going to see it's about a 24% retracement right here, where we are right now. Halfway down to this level right here is where we are right now. Okay? That's what it's hanging up on in the bigger picture. Now, it might make it all the way down here in the bigger picture, retrace all the way down here, and it's going to look like it's a trend change and everything's, and the wheels are falling off finally and all that stuff. But if it does make it down to here and it consolidates like it is right here, I would expect that it's going to bounce back up and this much. Now, I said a few weeks ago, It's on the daily chart, but I said a few weeks ago that I think it's going to make it up to here. It was in April that I said that. Well, it's just price action stuff. That's all. No, let's get in here and go through the trades we did take, didn't take, and all that stuff. Now, we did take trades on every market today. A few trades on the Russell. Yesterday, we only had one on the Russell, and it was a stop out. But today, we had a few trades, and one was a stop out. On the first trade, we had a plus 12, then we stopped out. And that just about made it to the 10 ticks where it would have bumped it, but it didn't. And then it stopped me out, and then it went up where it would have made it to the 10 ticks, would have bumped it to plus 5. But as it is, it stopped me out. We were at minus 13 at that point. Then we got 22 ticks right there, I think. That got us to plus 9, and that's where we ended it. All right. And that was the Russell this morning. YM does not have a trade right now. I'm just checking to see if we get any trades triggering right here at the moment, so we can jump on them if they happen. Let me put my DOMs too, so I can jump on them if they happen. The ES is about to have a trade right here. You see at the mid-band and give a down close. Now, the YM, we had on the YM we had 5 trades this morning. So we had a fair number of trades. Our first trade on the YM was a plus 5. The second trade was a plus 10. That got us to 15. Then we stopped out. That put us at minus 10. Then went from minus 10 to plus 10. So we had a plus 20 there. And then we followed it up with a plus 10 there to get us to plus 20 on the YM. Okay. And that was the whole session this morning on the YM. I'm doing it like this because I kind of want to watch the ES trade there to see if it actually triggers. All right. Now the YM's too far away. It won't be a trade there, but the Russell could be a trade on down close, and the ES could be a trade on down close, right? And while we're talking about the ES, we'll just bring it in here. Now I just showed you the ES a second ago, so I'll do it again. We'll blow it up like this, okay? Go back to the beginning. Here it is. Our first trade on the ES, we picked up 2 ticks right there. And that is where we got the goal for the day. Actually, those 2 ticks got us to $100 per contract. The short on the Russell triggered, and it's at plus 5 right now. And it just took me out with plus 5. And the ES short triggered too. Go back all the way back to the end here. There it is. The ES short triggered too. And here's that one. So in this session so far, I got a plus 5 on the Russell right there, and the ES hasn't gone to break even yet. But let's focus on this for a minute. It doesn't have anything nearby on the downside, so we're just going with the charts and the price action based on the charts right here. It should make it down to this level right here, but if it does turn at this point, it should make it to about here, 1850. There it goes. Stop us at break even. We want to lock in 1 tick. We want to lock in 4 ticks. This number down here is where it's searching for. Just going to take you 8 on that. So we had 5 over here and 8 here. This is the midpoint that I was talking about. If it's going to change directions right here, this is where it would do it, right here. Okay. Do you guys understand that? If we get rid of that, we're in the oversold. We're at the midpoint of this leg down. So it's going to change directions. It's going to be right here. Okay. Now, hopefully it's not going to, but we'll see if it does. Either way, we got 8 ticks out of it, and we got 5 ticks over here. Now, I was going over in detail all the other trades here. Let me go put those down in the recap over here before I forget them. Down here, for today on the S right now, we had 8 ticks there, and on the Russell, we had 5 ticks here. Copy that down to there. And this we did 93 and 514. And go to the end 2 0. And we haven't gotten up. We haven't got to the minutes part yet. But let's copy this down too. paste. This becomes 93. All right, back to the actual charts. It did get down to the swing low. That's good. All right, so let's go back to the beginning here. The trades that we took on the ES. We had that one trade right there where we took 2 ticks and got the goal for the day. We followed it up with a break-even trade. Then our next trade on the ES, we got 1 more tick to get us to +3. And then we got 6 ticks there to get us to +9. And that is where we ended it. Now, this morning I had crunched all this up and I had drawn in these things when we were right here, right? And there was no other price on the chart. And I said, if it does what it should do, it makes the leg up this big, then does a 50% retracement, makes the leg that big, then does a 50% retracement, makes the leg that big, does a 50% retracement. If the market works like it normally should, then this is what should happen. But remember what I just drew in here a minute ago when I crunched it all up? And I drew fibs from down here at this level up to here at this level. And I said it wouldn't surprise me to see it go all the way down here. And when it does go all the way down here, on the shorter time frame, it's going to look like it's changed directions. But I would think we're going to find support here at 75.10, right in that area. Okay. Does that make sense to y'all? If you guys have any questions about that, just say so. All right, so here we are now. The ES. Okay, so we don't have any more trades on the ES right now. I just went through the ES. We ended up with a +9 on the ES. Now we'll go with the NQ right now. Okay. On the NQ, you can see we had majority of our trades were on the NQ. Our first trade on the NQ was a +10. Our next trade on the NQ was a +12. Hang on. Okay. We had a +10, then we had a +12 to 22, then we had a +50 to get us up to 72. Then a 10 to 82, a 10 to 92. Then we stopped out, went down to 56. Then we had another 50 that brought us up to 106. And then we stopped out again right there. That brought us down to 70. And then we actually had, that had to be a 10-tick trade right there. I didn't write that one down. So we had one more trade that brought us up to 80. And that was it on the NQ this morning. Okay. So I will go add that last one on here. That goes in here. Not there. Goes up here. This goes to 80. And this goes to 21. Okay, so we're at 657.50. All right, let's go back down to the bottom here. This is today. Right now we're at $1,250 for $125 a contract in this session trading. That was not a trade here on the NQ because it didn't come out of the overbought off the mid band. Okay. Go look in here. This was not a trade on the ES because the bar before was not flat. Not a trade here, not a trade there. So the last trade was over here on the Russell. We did get that one. The last trade on the YM was, I think it was back here. No, I don't know where it was. Did we do a YM trade? Did an ES trade. That's what it was. It was an ES trade. The last trade on the ES was back here. And then we got that one. And that was it. All right. Any questions? Anybody? It's now 11:18. I know I got in just a couple of minutes late. So that one gives us, we'll say 14 minutes in here today. Oops, wrong one. This one. Let me slide this over here, and this over here, and this over here. All right. Does anybody have any questions at this point? This would be a trade here on the down close on the NQ right now. All right, it's not a trade here, it's not a trade here, it's not a trade here, but we hit the mid band and we're in the overbought. So a down close right here would be a trade on the NQ. Okay. Fish. No, but your yacht playlist. That's funny. There are a lot of songs in there that that we actually have on other playlists. But a few years ago, Jada was working in this office, and the bathroom to the office was right in the middle of the office. So you could hear everybody's business when they went in there, And we created this thing that was motion activated that started a playlist. Just started playing music as soon as you went in the bathroom. This is going to be a trade here on the ES on the down close. The NQ ended up being nothing. And a lot of those songs were on that playlist. It's kind of funny. The yacht playlist in the bathroom. Bob Z. Call Alabama, Crimson. All right. It's too far away now on the ES to give us a trade. So we're not going to have one there. This is moving up. It looks like it's going to hit the YBR. This is not giving us anything that we can use right yet. Oops, that we can use right here at the moment. All right. So both of these could be trades right now, I think. The ES cannot get up above 12, and it just did, so that's not going to be one. The NQ cannot get up above 48. Get up to 48.50. That's going to be right on the mid-band when down closes. Right up above it, really. They'll both be right above it on the down close. So not valid trades, right? Now that's nowhere near it. That's nowhere near it. So not valid trades. They look like they both can try to get up and flip the YBR. So I didn't look at this one in the bigger picture kind of look like I did with the ES. Okay, if we take the same, well, we could take this one right here and use this, but using the same kind of crunched up little picture to get a bigger picture. There's your 50% retracement. Now, if you grab this thing and you move it up here, it's just a little bit bigger, but here's our 50% retracement. Okay, now it went through it a bit, so it's acting as resistance right now, or it could act as resistance right now. I don't think it's going to, but it could act as resistance right now. Do you see my move to the big picture right there? There's nothing on the NQ, nothing on the ES, nothing on the YM. The YM is the closest though. If we hit the mid band and get a down close on this bar, like this right here, a down close on this bar would be a short now on the YM. The NQ is not too far away, but it should have flipped the YBR right there. Makes me a little sus on any trades coming from that guy. All right, on the YM right now, we are at a high here of 5108. This would be 88 is what you'd be selling on that right now. 88. Now that high just went up a little bit more. It's going to be 20 off the high, so 115 down to 95 now. Okay, and that keeps bumping up. The high is at 118. It's down at 98. This is the only chance we have for a trade. It's going to be 101 right now. 104. It can't get up above 27. Okay. It can't get up above 27. A down close right now would still be a trade on the YM. And on the NQ. And on the NQ. Look at that. Didn't see that one coming. Okay. The NQ, I took my stops going on. It just gave me all 50 on the NQ. And we just triggered in on the YM too. Okay, so we got all 50 on the NQ, and the YM is +5 so far. And we're out with +5 on the YM. Okay. So that is 50 there and 5 there. I'll add 2 more trades on here. So we're up $4,000 right now. That NQ, it's got another NQ coming up right here. Get ready for it. And there it is. Well, I just took it. It looks like it's going to stop me out. I just jumped on that right here, midway up. Almost. It's almost there. It's still almost there. It's got to get down to 13.25. Right here. Come on, I'm willing it down there so it doesn't take away those 36 ticks. It does, but we have 3 minutes left in this session. I think it's going to stop me out. It did. Okay, the ES could turn into a trade. The YM, we got the 5 ticks off of that. The ES on a down close right here will be a short. Let's go take those 36 ticks off of the NQ. That brings that down to a 14. This to a 5 and this to a 1. Okay. Yes, still not triggered in. The YM is going to go up 2, down 1. So it's not going to be a trade. Bob, you know we just go out there and listen to books, right? Not listen to a book. A book that we listen to.
I mentioned this earlier, I'll mention it again. I have 2 tickets to Jimmy Fallon's Saturday night show on Fox in New York on May 29th. I probably won't be able to make it. So anybody in the greater New York area, if you can use the tickets, I'll see if they're transferable.
You got tickets to a show in New York?
Yeah, every Saturday night there's this conservative comedian, Jimmy Fallon, and the show's called What the Fallon, and he's pretty funny. So this thing popped up on screen. It says, "Would you like to be a part of our studio audience?" You know, scan this with your phone, and you might be the lucky winner. And I guess I was. So
you're the lucky winner.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Two tickets. That I got to fly to New York to see a free show. I don't know.
Yeah, you got to fly to New York.
Probably not.
$1,000 a night for a hotel.
Get mugged. Yeah, right. Pay $1,000 for a hotel. Get mugged. You know, and then Come back home on a crutch.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably want to skip that show.
Probably.
New York's kind of lefty city anyway.
Oh my gosh. Oh, the stuff went down. I went over the financial trickery he did to. He just presented a balanced budget for New York City. Oh, I inherited a $12 billion deficit. Uh, it's there's the stuff he did. It's
You don't have
unbelievable.
words.
I don't have words. Although I read all the words from the article, but like he's delaying funding people who worked for the city of New York and have a pension.
Mm-hmm.
He's delaying funding their pension for a year so that he could balance the books today. I mean, that's just one part of the financial trickery.
So all the people who are relying on the pension in New York are not going to get paid.
Well,
they're going to drain whatever there is in the pension fund.
Yeah, it's kind of like Biden selling our oil reserves.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Anyway, it is time, my friend. Let's go through what we did today. All right, in this room so far, we're up 14 ticks on the NQ, 5 ticks on the Russell, 5 ticks on the YM, and 8 ticks on the ES for a gain of $2,200. We had 5 trades with 1 stop out. We traded for 14 minutes. So 80% of our trades were break even or better, and that brings our average up a little bit, our daily average in here, over the 93 days that we traded in here, that we kept track of anyway. We're averaging $117 per session, and we're averaging 14 minutes per session. 14
and that's per contract.
Per contract, right. If you have not taken a free trial, let's go here to mytradingiq.com. Click on the purple button right there. No credit card required for that. Just click on that. It's going to bring you to the registration page. Just fill it out. Okay. Fill it out, and we'll get you going as soon as we can. Speaking of all that, is Khalil in here? I didn't check and see.
He should be.
He's not right now. He might have been earlier, but yeah. So I set him up with all his stuff today.
Oh, so I've got a meeting with him tomorrow afternoon at 4.
Okay, good. So, all right. That is it. With that, I can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne is ready.
I am.
Excellent.
Okay. I sent you a message in Telegram responding to the message you had sent me. I just saw it. So, decide what you want to do, and then if you want to do something, I'll get the word out. And
okay. I don't want to be incomplete information really tonight.
So that's why I ended it with, you know what, if you just want to push this off into the future, we can just do that.
Yeah.
Okay. But a reminder, tonight is members only workshop, guys, so have your questions ready, and we will do our very best to get them answered for you, whatever they might be. And if you've been on the trial and you want to be in the members only workshop, well, you just got to become a member. Get a hold of Valerie, support@cfrn.net, or call her at 949-42-EMINI. Recap of the morning session.
Today it took 7 minutes and 3 trades to get to $1,000 with 10 contracts on.
Tune that bell. Good job. All right, guys, I have covered everything. I've even done the good word for the day. So if you missed any part of today's broadcast, 10 minutes after I sign off, in about 1 minute, all you got to do is go to youtube.com/CFRN, and you can watch today's broadcast in its entirety, or you can fast forward to the part where Michael comes on and starts doing some live trading. However you want to do it, it's there for you. youtube.com/CFRN. Thanks so much for tuning in, whoever you are, wherever you are. May God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.